What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 15, episode 2, and the episode is titled Sisters Before Misters. Let's jump right into the review. So, first thing we see is Kenya explaining to Sheree that, yes, Martell was in her DMs probably about 6 months ago or whatever. She just wants to give her a heads up, let her know what's been going on so that way she's not blindsided in the future. Oh, but on the other side of the party, we have Kandi going off because she's ready to headbutt Courtney at any given moment. So now we have this conversation happening about, like, why is she coming at Kandi like this? You have Sonia saying, I just met this woman the other day or whatever. She's Sheree's friend. Don Juan, I have no idea where he came from, but he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense because she's Sheree's friend. Now, I will say this is the second friend that Sheree has brought onto the show to buck up for her, so she ain't gotta say nothing. I find that to be very interesting. We have Courtney now, and then we had that one lady, Fatum, last season, so we'll see who else Sheree got in her back pocket. But at this point, Kandi is feeling some type of way about Sonya because she's like, wait a second, you invited her to your man's party. We've been friends for a minute now, and you didn't even give me a heads up that this woman was going to be here with all this energy. Now, here's where things get a little choppy for me. Shout out to editing who kind of messed this up. We kept going back and forth between the conversations, right? The whole Martell drama, and then the Kandi and the headbutting, right? So next thing you know, we have Sonya going back over to Sheree, and she's telling her, like, oh yeah, well, Kandi just almost fought Courtney or whatever. Keep in mind, Martell is standing right there. So I'm just like, so did we just stop the conversation about Martell just so that we can round everybody up? What was that? So then, of course, we have a bunch of other random scenes or whatever. Marlo is the only one who's not trying to be in the drama. She's actually trying to go play some games and maybe win some money. I don't know if there's money on the table or not, but if there is, that's what she's trying to do because we did not see her with the rest of the girls. So next thing you know, the whole group is there. Courtney's there or whatever. And Sheree's like, well, what was going on? And Kandi don't even want to talk about it no more. She's over the situation. She would rather probably not have to talk to Courtney or about Courtney any longer. So next thing you know, Sonya comes in. She has an outfit change or whatever. I'm like, all right, that's cute. That's cute or whatever. All right, so now let's talk about Martell. So Sheree is like, oh, I heard that he supposedly dated somebody in Atlanta. And Kandi was like, yeah, well, you always the one who says you want to know stuff and you want to have a heads up or whatever. But Sheree's like, well, I'm going to need all the facts before y'all bring me anything. One thing that I will say is, yeah, it is one thing for Monyetta and Kandi to hear that he is dating somebody in Atlanta. But unless y'all have some type of photo proof, some private text messages were sent to y'all that y'all didn't need to see, but you going to tell Sheree about, then let's not even bring this up. One thing that I am trying to do when it comes to Martell being on Housewives of Atlanta, I'm trying to not judge him based on who we all know that he is, especially on Love and Marriage Huntsville. I'm trying to give him some type of benefit of a doubt. Some type. Even though I'm not really feeling him as Sheree. But I'm trying here. Nonetheless, so Sheree is showing Martell the phone or whatever, and he's like, oh, is this your phone or whatever? And here's the thing, Kenya, you gotta watch your words, because she's like, you're so aggressive, Martell. And I get it. When he talks to Melody and everything on Love and Marriage Huntsville, he is absolutely aggressive and out of line. But in this moment, I don't think that he's exactly being aggressive. I think he's caught off guard because you're putting him on blast. But I don't think that he's being aggressive. Now, one thing that I will say is that I did not appreciate the dig that he tried to make at her, saying that she accepts everybody's DM as if she's out here being some type of promiscuous woman, as if that's any of his business. So next thing you know, because everybody's whipping out phones, he whips out his phone, and according to his phone, he messaged her 2 years ago. It said something like, thanks for the kind words about something who knows what they were talking about or what he was messaging her for. But I just feel like this completely got blown out of proportion. Because even if he did slide in Kenya's DMs, we don't know what he said. So it could have been something along the lines of that. I don't know. And I am not trying to justify, Martell being a hot mess at all. I'm just saying that we don't know what was said. So this becoming this big thing is a bit much. So at this point, Martell, he curses at Kenya, but I don't know if let me not say that. He did not curse at her. There was a curse word in the sentence that he said. It's not like he said F you, called her out her name. That's not what happened. I can't remember exactly what the sentence was, but it was a curse word in the line. So now she's like, oh, you're cursing at me? You're cursing at this queen? So now he like, oh, well, you're yelling at this king? I said, first of all, we can go ahead and remove the queen and king talk and just talk as Kenya and Martell. Let's start there. Because I hate when people try to do this whole, because I am a queen, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Chill out. So now Kenya is pissed though. She's going off about how he did his ex-wife wrong. He gonna do Sheree wrong. He was a cheater, always a cheater. Now all these things are definitely factual about Martell. Do I think that he actually deserved it in this moment? I feel like this could have been settled. I really do, but we really hyped this up for the show. I really feel like we were put it on for the show. Because honestly, I don't even see Kenya caring about what Martell has going on. I really don't see her being that type of person. But if we gonna make TV, let's make TV. Now, one thing that I will point out is the fact that Kenya did say that this is the same behavior that Bob had. And she ain't lying. She is absolutely not lying. Especially when we got that flashback scene of him talking about how he choked Sheree out. And then he had the audacity to say, oh, well, I guess I didn't choke you hard enough because you were still breathing or something like that. Sir, who says that? Like, this kind of make me want to go back and rewatch The Real Housewives of Atlanta and do some throwback reviews. Like, the way this whole thing was brought up, it was a mess. At this point, everybody ready to go home. Sheree talks to Kenya and she's like, this was 2 years ago. What's the point of bringing it up? I do understand that. This was a message that was sent 2 years ago, or even if it was 6 months ago, whatever. We don't know what that other previous message was. And then the one that we do have proof that he sent you something, it wasn't like he was really like trying to get at you. So in the big grand scheme of things, it makes Kenya, at least to me, it makes it seem like she was extra and like doing too much. But as far as what she was saying about Martell, yeah, it was still true. It was definitely still true. I just feel like this wasn't the time or the place for them to try to mess up Ross's birthday party. So now in the car, Martell is feeling some type of way because he's like, this is my first time meeting these people and I didn't expect for them to come at me that way. Which, I mean, who does? Who would expect for somebody to be like, you was sliding in my DMs? But it's like, welcome to Real Housewives of Atlanta, baby. This is what you wanted when you got with Sheree. All right, now let's go ahead and move along because let's talk about Drew. You guys, Drew comes home. We see that Ralph is with their daughter, and I must say, her daughter, Anaya, is such a cute little girl. Honestly, everyone has beautiful children, for real, because her boys are adorable as well. They are, like, putting together some stuff for Drew for when she gets home. We learned that she was actually back in Chicago. She was visiting her dad. He has Alzheimer's. And he's in a nursing home. So while she was there, her mom was there as well. And she got to play him a song from her because she has been working on music. And he did kind of like start to remember her. He said that she had like a beautiful voice. So I know that she will definitely cherish that moment. Here's my thing though. I was just wondering, why haven't they thought of maybe moving him to Atlanta? You know what I'm saying? Because I think her mom is there. She's there. But maybe she has other siblings or something in Chicago. I don't know. But I just feel like that's such a distance for your dad to have to be all the way in Chicago while you're in Atlanta. So then Ralph and Drew, they start talking about her career. So we know that at one point, Jerusadora was really trying to be a singer. She was trying to be a music artist, but it never really panned out the way that she thought that it would. I feel like her career never really popped off. Like, yeah, she was able to do, what was it, Step Up 2, I think? Or maybe it was the original Step Up. Either way, she was able to, do the acting thing. I want to say that her songs were on the soundtracks, but it just never worked out for her. And it's not like she has a bad voice, but honestly, when she was coming up into the industry, I feel like that is when the music industry was really starting to shift and change. And people started being quite selective of who their favorite artist was. And if it ain't them, then we not rocking with them. And I'm just going to leave that there, because I feel like we as consumers, when I really look back at the early 2000s, 2010s and all of that, there were a lot of pretty decent, good artists that we just let slip through our fingers because they were not Rihanna or Beyonce. Like, there were a lot of artists that we really kind of fumbled the bag on. But you know what? That is for another video and another conversation. So we actually learned that she has dropped a single, y'all. It's called Already Know. And this is the biggest shocker to me, was the fact that Ralph was the person who wrote it and produced it. I did not know that Ralph did music. Like, I never knew that. They've never mentioned it. I thought he worked for like some type of cybersecurity company or something. Like, I wonder if that's how they met. Like, now I got more questions. Like, was he always into music? Was he working behind the scenes? What's going on here? So they briefly talk about Ross's party or whatever, and he tells her that he met his cousin there, Courtney, which I still think that is so random that they are supposedly related. But I don't have any energy for that, so let's go ahead and move on, because we have Candy and Sonia meeting up. And I think that it was really cool for us to learn that, Candy sent out a text message like, hey, it's spring break, taking the kids to Disney World, who wants to come? And Sonia actually responded saying, yeah, we're down for it. I think that's pretty cool that they were actually able to, round up the families and go on a trip to Disney World. But y'all, let me tell you why I'm really here. Let's talk about Sonia, because I feel like she is the issue. She is the problem with her family. Her husband is ready for these people to get up out of his house. He's been ready for all of them to leave last season. He was ready for them to go. For some reason, her whole family is still there. Keep in mind, it is her whole family. He ain't got no extra people from his side. So she goes on to talk about how her parents want to move to Florida. Okay, that should be fine. Then she goes on to talk about how her sister is over it. She don't want to be there anymore either. And then she's like, but we gave them 1 to 2 years to stay with us, so I don't understand what the big fuss is. Because everybody's grown and everybody wants their own space, Sonia. Why are you holding on to people so tightly that they can't go live their lives for themselves? Because just last week, y'all, she was talking about how, her family, she provides for them through the jobs that she has and how she's created this life. Yeah, we know when you were running track, you were that girl. But listen, everybody wants to grow and they want to flourish in their own way. Let your family move out. I think you and Ross can handle raising your son by yourself. If you need some help, get a nanny. Let your mama and your daddy move to Florida. Let your sister and her husband, if they have to get an apartment, while they try to stack some money up, whatever that they got to do, let them do that. They do not need to live at your house. They don't need to work for you. Let these people survive on their own. But I feel like she wants to be the type of person to be like, I provided this for you. I gave you this. She wants to be that person. So she's trying to hold on tight to these people. So they briefly talk about Candy and Todd, and it's clear that Candy and Todd are going through a little rough patch, but I definitely think that they can make it through. Now let's talk about Courtney, because Sonia is like, when I first met Courtney, I met her at Sheree's house, and she was telling us about how you posted about some restaurant, and how once you posted that, it became ghetto. And of course, Candy is offended. And she's like, well, what did you say, to defend me, because she's calling me ghetto. Girl, that woman did not defend you. Sonia was kikiing, ha-haing, joking it up with Sheree. They were both were having a grand old time laughing at the fact that the thing became ghetto, okay? Like, I don't even know why you thought that Sonia would, really defend you. Now, Sonia sat up here and lied, talking about how she tried to defend Candy, but we all know that is not the truth at all. And if we're being honest, I feel like Sonia has already picked her side. Like, she's cool with Candy, probably because she knows that Candy is a favorite, but she not really rocking with Candy like that. She's really team Marlo and Sheree. I think we've already established that since last season. So next thing you know, we get this montage of what everybody got going on. We saw Marlo with her boys. We saw, who else was there? Drew making these light-skinned pancakes. And then we saw Sonia talking to Ross. And she mentions how they're supposed to be working on baby number 2. But he's always in Austin because he has a business out there. I honestly kind of forgot about her wanting to have another baby. Because, we haven't talked about that in so long. But hopefully by the time we get to the reunion, there's news that there's a baby. All right, now let's move on over to Candy and Todd. They are at Blaze Steak and Seafood, and we learned that their restaurant is not that they're doing bad, but it's not doing as good as the other restaurants that they have. And Todd believes that, he's going to shake up the menu, change a few things, and he can definitely be up there with the rest of the restaurants. Now, one thing I can say about Todd is that he actually believes in himself and he believes in what he's capable of, because he is believing that he is able to turn this around because Baby Boy is ready to open up the next restaurant. I'm like, can we fix this one first? He's like, so are you ready for the Mexican restaurant? And she's like, no. Now, keep in mind, he mentioned to us, I think on the last season, that he had this idea of a Mexican restaurant. Now, Candy is a little concerned because she's like, why do you keep wanting to open up restaurants? And he's like, this is the most money that I have ever made in my life. Just off of, having these restaurants. And if I can't keep going, I'm going to keep going, opening up more. Because with the money that he has coming in from the restaurants, he could actually possibly fund his own movie. This money can lead him to working on other projects that may be passion projects for him. But at least he's able to have an income coming in consistently while he's working on other projects. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he has to be extremely hands-on at these restaurants, actually working there every day. He has people in place for that. So if he wants to go produce a TV show or, do whatever, he has that option. And he also has money coming in. So it's funny, though, that Candy is the one telling him to slow down with the restaurants. But he's like, nah, I'm coming up with I'm not OLG. He already got that. OLG, which is the Spanish version of OLG, y'all. And that's going to be the Mexican restaurant. And he also said, he wants to have Ace's Pizza. And I was like, you know what? I can't even knock Todd at all, because at the end of the day, he has restaurants that are named after the kids. So, you know what I'm saying? This is something that they can continue on after, their parents aren't here anymore. They can always own Ace's Pizza. They can always own Blaze's, Steak and Seafood. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe he might give Kayla the Mexican restaurant, and then he may give Riley OLG. I don't know how that's gonna break down, but I understand it. So next thing you know, Candy's nephew Melvin comes in, and he is the one who actually got shot at OLG. So they're having a conversation and not trying to talk about, what's going on with him. But here comes the producer out of nowhere saying, so we're not going to talk about the elephant in the room? And Candy went better than me, because I would have said no. Remember, y'all canceled our show? So because y'all decided to cancel it, there's nothing to discuss over here, baby. So nonetheless, she's like, no, because it's a legal matter. We can't discuss it. So then we go to the confessionals, and you have Candy saying, the violence in Atlanta is getting out of hand. We don't want it to be happening at Candy's restaurant. Sonia said something. Oh, but here comes ultimate hater Sheree. This woman says, if we go to OLG, we don't know if we're going to get bullets or biscuits. And I was so stunned, like, Sheree, I know that you're not rocking with Candy, but, like, in this matter, did you really have to take a dig? So, in her confessional, though, Candy does say that when it comes to what happened, basically, she had an employee, came to work inebriated. Her nephew who works there, he's the kitchen manager. He basically probably tried to tell him, you can't be here like that or whatever. They go outside. He ends up shooting her nephew, which is crazy. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and move on over to Kenya. She is with her baby Brooklyn, and they're going to meet up with one of her friends and their daughter. So we actually meet Akila, and she has a daughter named Nazanin, and cute little girl. Akila is beautiful. Like, honestly, this was like the pretty girl clique right here. Because the kids are cute, the moms are cute, you know what I'm saying? And they actually play tennis with the girls for a little bit. And then they go off to the side and have a conversation. One thing that we learn about Akila is that she's actually a WAG. She is the wife of an NFL player. I did do a little bit of research on her, just checked out her Instagram. One of her kids, I want to say it's her daughter actually, has sickle cell, anemia, and they do a lot of philanthropic work for research for it, as well as treatments and everything. Like, I feel like she probably could have been a good addition to Housewives, but honestly, I think she might be a little on the young side, because it seems like they're just like testing her out right now. But like I said, I think that she might be on the young side. So if we kind of, make a younger show with some Atlanta girls, they should keep her in mind. So the ladies talk about Kenya having this new man in her life by the name of RHOA. This guy has really, opened Kenya up, because Kenya was a mess after dealing with Mark for a while. You know what I'm saying? But she does see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. She does seem to be in a good place. She seems very happy. And Akila was like, listen, girl, if it don't work out with him, I can introduce you to some NFL players. Don't you worry, okay? I got you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Sheree and Sonia. They meet up, and they talk about how now Sheree is a grandma. Her son Cairo has a daughter by the name of Mecca, which I think is pretty dope, because Cairo and Mecca are both places. Love the name thing that they have going on. Yeah, so this has now changed Sheree's life, because she's a grandma and all this stuff. One thing that I want to point out is the fact that for some reason, People magazine has photos of like Sheree and the baby and Cairo and the mom and all of that. It is so strange to me, because usually People magazine only does celebrities who had a baby, not because the celebrity is a grandmother. Like, it is very strange to me, but I feel like People is real desperate. Nonetheless, they talk about the party and how Martell felt like he was ambushed because he came to this party, to celebrate Ross's birthday, and now Kenya was coming at him. Sonia throws in her 2 cents that, we got to stop throwing out the word aggressive. Now, one thing I will say is we definitely do. We absolutely have to stop throwing out words like aggressive, because unless the situation calls for it, then let's not overreact. Because if we really want to talk about it, yes, he did curse, or he used a curse word, but he did not curse at her and call her out her name. He did raise his voice, but her voice was raised as well. So it is kind of annoying when women feel like a man should never talk to a woman that kind of way. But look at the way that you're talking to him. So if he's meeting your energy, he's matching your energy, you can't be mad. Now, keep in mind that while Sheree and Sonia are talking, we have also Kenya and Akila talking. And basically, Kenya feels like Martell was out of line. This is the first time that she met this man. He shouldn't have been raising his voice and all of that. Which I agree. He should have tried to keep his cool. But like I said, you can't be mad when somebody match your energy. Now, when it comes to him denying that he even sent a DM in the first place, yeah, he definitely was pulling typical Martell. I will say that. he will deny, deny, deny. You are lucky that he didn't say that you had 20 men in your DMs, because that man, he loved the number 20, and he loves to say anybody else did it but himself. Now, one thing that I do have to point out is the fact that Kenya has been with men who are definitely abusive, who are definitely aggressive. So she knows the signs at this point. And she's like, girl, I see those signs in Martell. Now, is she right about that? Yes, for sure. But I just think that this was not the time and the place for that type of conversation. And like she said, Sheree, you've already been through this when you were with Tyrone, because Tyrone wasn't good at all either. But let's go ahead and move on, because we have Drew in the studio with Ralph. They meet with a producer. I'm not sure what his name is. They talk about the record, how, their marriage is like the focal point of how they got to writing this song together, even though I thought that Ralph wrote the song. But nonetheless, Drew is talking about how, music has always been a part of her life, blah, blah, blah. They go on to actually have Ralph play the song on the piano, and she sings it. She sounds good. I feel like there's a space for Drew, you know what I'm saying? Because if Candace can come out with a song and it pop, because she trying to drive back. If she can do that, then I feel like Drew can have a song out as well. Like, there is no problem with that. Drop the single. It was strange that they posted the single up and Ralph was on the cover, because I'm like, girl, we don't need Ralph here. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, especially considering they're now going through a divorce. It kind of makes me wonder if they are really going through a divorce, or is this for the show? But nonetheless, the one on her Instagram, it no longer has Ralph on there. And it's crazy because, speaking of Candace, they have a song together. Now, I have not listened to the song, but I do know that Candace and Drew have a song together. If anybody has heard it, please drop down in the comments. Let me know, do y'all like the song? Is it good? What's up with the song? Y'all, let's get to this scene with Sheree. Why is Sheree playing in our face? Now, I don't know whose warehouse she's at, but I know this is not for She by Sheree. She just had a few She by Sheree products around to make it seem like this is her warehouse. Because you have two girls there who are working in the warehouse, and they're supposed to be packing orders, but the jackets are wrinkled or whatever. And Sheree's like, oh, we don't want to send them out wrinkled. Child, my question is, has anybody even received a She by Sheree order? Because I feel like when that line dropped, it was so much of a fiasco that everything was crashing. Remember, the website was crashing, all that stuff. I ain't seen nobody wear She by Sheree. Not a single soul walking around wearing She by Sheree. So, who bought it, y'all? If you bought some She by Sheree, please drop down in the comments and let me know what you got. But nonetheless, you have Kenya coming in. She trying to see what Sheree's actually doing. She probably trying to peep around and see if this is all Sheree's stuff, or if it's another business up in there, like my thought process is saying. She talks about a commercial that she shot with a few Dallas Cowboy players, as well as some other housewives. Then they briefly talk about how Kenya got a man now, and now let's talk about how Sheree has a man, which is Martell. So come to find out, Martell as well as Sheree are Capricorns. That is something that I never knew, and I did not expect. I just did not see them as being Capricorns, just because of how messy, conniving, trifling these people are. But you know what? I guess. So when it comes down to how did we get where we got to, Kenya feels like she was just expressing the fact that this man slid into her DMs. Sheree is trying to explain that, he felt ambushed, the conversation escalated, all this stuff. They're not clearly saying eye to eye in this conversation. Now, Kenya says that she don't know this man and she does not want to get to know him. And she also mentioned something about, after seeing him on his show. Y'all, this is what I think happened. I really feel like Kenya did not know much about Martell when Sheree was at that damn reunion. I feel like when Sheree was at that reunion and everybody was like, oh, Sheree's got a new man. His name is Martell, blah, 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 blah. He's on another show. It was like, oh, okay, cool. He's a nice looking man. I don't think she ever saw the show. I think that over the break, she probably binge watched some episodes of Love and Marriage Huntsville just to do a little bit of research on Martell, and what she saw was a huge red flag, and she knows that Sheree just been through multiple red flags, starting at Bob, and then we got hit with whoever else she picked up along the way, like Dr. Tai, remember that? And then we had to get with Tyrone, who was fresh out of prison. So now you come up with Martell? Girl, no, you can do better. Now, according to Sheree, y'all, she already knew about this DM. Her and Martell, they have talked about everything. Do I believe that? Absolutely not. I don't believe that for one bit. I feel like she's going to play into this as if she knows everything that's going on with Martell, because I'm like, well, girl, do you know that Martell still wants to be with his ex-wife as well? Do you know that Martell is continuing to cause havoc in Melody's life? Okay, you know what? Let's focus on Real Housewives and not Love and Marriage. So now they are going back and forth about this whole situation. Kenya feels like he shouldn't have raised his voice at her. He should have came at her sideways or whatever. And Sheree feels like she needs to be accountable for the part that she played in the situation. Like, honestly, this conversation is getting nowhere because Kenya feels how she feels. Sheree feels how she feels. Sheree's about to ride out for Martell. She's going to stick beside him. And Kenya, you just going to have to get with the program. You just going to have to stop fooling with Sheree. Because Sheree is not saying it how you're saying it. Now, as for me, I love me some Kenya. But I do think that she's putting it on a little heavy. Because technically Martell hasn't done anything to Sheree that should have led up to this entire blow up. Like, it makes it seem like, at least to me, that Kenya has watched Love and Marriage Huntsville and she sees Martell for who he is and she wants to call him out for it, but I feel like we could have chose a better scenario or a better moment to call him out for his shenanigans. Like, wait till he do something to Sheree. Don't worry, it's going to happen because that's just who he is. But I feel like we could have waited just a little bit for him to actually to have done something to Sheree, and that way you could have blew up on him and then called him out. You know what I'm saying? Because he definitely is a piece of crap. That is not, we not negotiating on that. But I just think it was just the wrong timing. And as for Sheree, this is a storyline for her. She gonna ride out for Martell. She really is. But y'all, let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.